against principalities, powers, rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This nation, we break your influence. We break your hold from the leaders, from the government, from the people, in the name of Jesus.
Yes, sir.
We cancel your policies.
Yes, sir.
That's the way to pray. You cancel their policies, because that's one of the things they do. They come up with policies, with regulations that destroy the poverty of the prosperity of the people. They come up with such wicked policies. And then it's very difficult for the people to ever get over. Ever. They can catch up. Every time they try to catch up, something happens. You say, why don't the leaders just do something? The leaders would love to do something if they're not in the same club anyway. But once they try, they are threatened.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So they know how to go around them. And if they, I told you, it's negotiation, intimidation, elimination.
Yes.
If they negotiate and the leaders say no, intimidate them. If they continue to say no, then you hear that the man got sick and, oh, by the way, interesting. You know, I said for long that the testing of COVID-19 was a fraud. I've been saying it since. And I was hoping that the President of the United States would stop the testing. But he didn't. Why? I told you some weeks ago why he wouldn't stop the testing. Because it all became politics. And it seemed like it was advantageous to him to talk about, we're testing now, we're really testing now, more people are being tested. I said, what's a fraud?
Yes,
They're going to make the one that they want positive to be positive and the one they want negative, negative. Why? Because I said, what are they testing for? The tests are a fraud. And before I could come back to tell you that if the president keeps testing, just before the elections, he's going to test positive. Well, it happened before I could come back to you. I wasn't surprised at all. Why is it so? Because it's called negotiation, intimidation. What's just happened is a warning. They're saying to him, you better comply with us, because they can see, it's called the insurance policy. This is 2020 insurance policy, different from the 2016 insurance policy. 2020 insurance policy is the COVID-19. October surprise.
Yes, sir.
So, because they found out he was getting more and more difficult to beat at the election, they wouldn't have needed this card if things were going all right.
Yes, sir.
But the debate with Biden was too bad. It wasn't good for Biden
Yes, sir.
and his folks. So, insurance policy,
Yes, sir.
COVID-19. Trump and all around him must test what? Positive. And Biden and his friends must test what? Negative. What does that mean? It means simply, you didn't handle COVID-19 properly. So that's the news to the public. But private news is, are you ready to comply? Mask mandate, are you ready? Are you ready to announce that COVID-19 is not only real, it's serious?
Yes, sir.
Of course, it's not like those kind of questioning. It's not like that. It's done more diplomatically. I mean, they had it for Boris Johnson.
Yes,
Boris Johnson said, we're not locking down. They sent him a Chinese visitor. Sure, I mean, you read the news. He did. And he had a handshake. And shortly after that, he was in the hospital.
Yes, sir.
And from the hospital, he said, I believe, I agree. And he came out and changed all policies and became pro-COVID-19. And those are not the only leaders. It's an intimidation. What I'm saying is, the tests need to be investigated. And guess what? Just as expected, some on the left already began to say he faked it. You know why they're saying that? Because if there's an investigation, it'll be found to be fake. And they want to say, Trump faked it. Because it will be found to be fake. But they want to be able to say, he faked it.
Yes, sir.
But the thing was a fraud from the beginning.
Yes, sir.
It's been a fraud.
Yes.
I told you, I said it's the biggest fraud that's been done for a very long time. The testing for COVID-19. It's a fraud. So we're just looking at this whole game that's going on. But I tell you, as God's people, you have to pray. Because that's, I believe that's the final pressure on the President of the United States. That's the final pressure. If he can get through this, I don't mean if he get well. No. I mean if he can still stand and say and maintain what he maintained before.
Yes, sir.
Rather than say, I give up, whatever you tell me to do now I'm going to do. If he doesn't give up, he wins. But if he follows them this way and that way, trouble. And you know, the future of this world is all in the Bible. It's all in this book. I want to show you some things. I want to show you some things that are so important. And